Shout out to the sponsors of the podcast, MonarchToken.io, the complete crypto solution. Monarch Wallet is now available for Android, iOS, and desktop devices today. Do you want to learn how to mine crypto? Well, all you have to do is visit cryptomining.tools for profitable crypto mining information today. The Divi Project, that is diviproject.org, your one-click solution for staking and masternodes. Earn cryptocurrency using social media platforms like SoMe.social, SOMEE.social, New Era Social Media. Get paid to write reviews, like reviews, comment on reviews. Visit bravocoin.com and get paid to review. Available for Android and iOS devices. bravocoin.com. And we're live. How goes it, everybody? I'm Ken Boza, and I'm here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm with my bro, Dreath of Piratechain. How goes it?
That was pretty good, man. How about you?
Goes well. Happy to be relaxing after a couple days of hecticness. Oh, we got people in the chat. How goes everybody in the chat? I see you all in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to let Dreath go ahead and introduce himself. I guess start with, who you are before you got into crypto, how that led you down your rabbit hole, and what you're doing now in the industry.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an engineer by day. I've worked for the solar industry, pharmaceutical industry, telecommunications, so forth. And I've heard of Bitcoin roughly about 6 years ago. At that point in time, I was just way too busy to really do anything about it. And then a few years back, that's when, I decided to sit down and just focus on what the hell this whole thing was. So started doing research into Bitcoin, bought some miners or whatever, started mining it, and then started digging deeper into other alternative coins like Litecoin. I quickly switched from Bitcoin to Litecoin. And then after a while, started getting deeper into privacy coins, so Monero, Zcash, and so forth. And then I'm a huge privacy advocate to begin with. And then once I stumbled upon Piratechain, which was thanks to a YouTuber called Vosk from Voscoin. Shout out to him because he got me into, Pirate. I decided to join in and see what it was all about, started mining it, and then just started digging deeper into the technology behind it. Just got super interested and realized that this is really what I want to be a part of. So just started trying to help out as much as possible. And then over time, started getting promoted into higher and higher positions, and then just took on more responsibility until I got to the point where I became a captain. So
Respect, bro. Grind the hustle, man, and
Yeah.
earn your ranks, as it were. And
Yeah.
a lot of the people in this space feel deterred from even attempting things like that. And then you have stories like yours that's just like, I joined the community, grinded my way up, now I'm captain. You know what I mean? If you're listening to this, guys, join a community, put in some work, and rank up. And it's really right now. It's not just like early adoption, first in, first out, speculating. No, it's community. It's contributions, and it's earning. And right now, whatever you're doing in the legacy world, you can contribute in the cryptocurrency industry, and you can kind of, I guess, leapfrog. You know what I mean? What's going on in your economy with working on the evolution of blockchain. I wanted to dive into your comment on going from Bitcoin to Litecoin, and if what that was like and why you took that segue.
Well, Bitcoin was getting a little bit harder to mine over time. The hash rate just exponentially going up during that period. And then, Litecoin seemed like a pretty solid investment because, I was brought into the notion that, Bitcoin's gold, Litecoin is silver to Bitcoin's gold. So I decided, I'll hedge my bets and try to get into some Litecoin and just see what happens. And
I feel
worked out pretty well.
I feel like it's a fair comparison, especially because silver is so underrated, especially next to gold, and a lot of people aren't really visionaries of such. When you look at silver itself, not Litecoin being Bitcoin's silver, but silver itself, as far as precious metals and use of it go, it has a lot more use case coming up. The industry for silver is actually looking to boom soon because of all the technology implementing and utilizing the silver. So
Oh yeah.
same thing with like Litecoin. A lot of these, Litecoin has a partnership with a bank. They're working on Mimblewimble. Litecoin is sort of like that underdog. Silver is sort of like that underdog as well. So the comparison definitely works.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still
So,
mining Litecoin?
no, no, I focused everything on Piratechain
I
just
have
because.
I have like
Right.
3 or 4 tiny little Litecoin miners that do nothing. I barely even see a couple cents out of it, but like it's cool to have them running.
I almost bought one of those Bitmain Litecoin routers. Remember those?
I remember those. Did they actually come out?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
don't know if
thought
anybody
about
ever
getting
got
it.
them.
Yeah, I thought about getting one, but then I was like, I'll just hold off because I mean, realistically, the odds of mining an actual block of Litecoin with one of those routers is probably slim to none.
But I
So I
mean,
was
it's
like,
still like walking into your convenience store and buying $1, random, lottery ticket and having that random chance of winning the lottery and having that tiny little Litecoin miner going. That's to me is like my daily scratch off. Like, oh, one
yeah,
day maybe I'll hit, but you can't win unless you play, and all you need to play is that tiny little USB flash drive looking miner, and that's your entry to the pearly gates of crypto potential.
yeah,
And you
true.
mentioned the router, which is really cool. I wanted to speculate on what your thoughts are of like machine mining and appliances mining, but not for you, but for the corporations. A lot of the like we were talking earlier about like before we went on air how like proprietary software stops a lot of innovation. Like Apple has problems with Coinbase Web 3.0, so now Coinbase
Yeah,
is getting rid of their 3.0 browser because of censorship on the operating system's app store. So we could see a lot of that happening in the crypto space as well with like so I'm just curious like what your thoughts are.
well, unless it's a service, right? Like if I were to pay you to do something and you're doing it, then that's you performing a service. Whereas if I buy a product, that product should be completely mine. It
Yeah.
shouldn't have any additional services that are benefiting that company while I'm using it.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
who
mean?
reads the terms and services of like their
Oh,
of when you
that's
buy
the
an
problem.
actual hardware, right? Like if I buy my phone $1,000 in cash, I own the phone, but then the battery starts to go on me, and I replace the battery myself. I've broken terms and services. I am now out of warranty. If something goes wrong with the software, the motherboard, or something outside of replaceability, it's now my fault or out of warranty. So now I'm beat. And I'm thinking
Yeah,
that we could see this moving forward. Like, you know how smart TVs have recently been like hacked to spy on people? Well,
yeah.
imagine, like that router mining Litecoin. All these electronics that we have plugged in, our refrigerator, our microwave, even toasters are going to be connected to Wi-Fi soon. I mean, some of them already are. So imagine a lot of these household appliances mining cryptocurrencies in the background for the corporations while they're connected to your Wi-Fi, while they're plugged into your electricity, and then that's part of the terms and services. You want to use our smart toaster? Well, while it's plugged in, not doing anything, it's mining our shitcoin in the background. Hope you're cool with it. If not, don't buy our toaster.
Well, see, here's the thing with me on that aspect, that should be upfront and advertised as such. You know what I mean? So it shouldn't be buried in the terms of service when it's benefiting them. So, and plus, the terms of service these days are just out of hand. I mean, hell, iTunes, you have to read 10 freaking books just to actually go through the whole thing,
Yep.
And it's just a music player. Come on, you know?
Yeah.
So, realistically, if there's something that you purchase that is somehow benefiting, say like for example mining for a corporation, that should be front and center in their advertisement, kind of like with oh, like smoking for example, how they have like, oh, this will cause cancer,
Yeah, but your
right
TV
on the back
doesn't
of it.
say that. When you go and buy a Samsung Smart TV, it doesn't tell you that Samsung is data mining you, taking
Oh,
everything that you're watching, categorizing it, and selling it to big media so they have a better understanding of you. Now,
oh,
like that's
true.
that's a whole different like data mining is still mining. It's just not a cryptocurrency. So that's why when I look at these Internet of Things that we own today that mine our data, and the privacy battle that we're in with Congress and regulators right now, there's a good chance that data mining will just become currency mining with these IoT devices, because they'll no longer be able to facilitate these transactions of data for currencies because some regulation may prevent it at a corporate level. So now Samsung doesn't get all that extra money on the side from saying to Netflix, hey, Ken watches Netflix, but then he went to Hulu for this show, so you might want to get this show on Netflix because that's the only reason he leaves Netflix to go to Hulu. We know because he watches it on our TV, and we're telling you. That's money in their pocket. If that gets taken out, the potential to replace that with mining privacy coins out of the machines is a fair game replacement.
Yeah, and that's honestly the most lucrative business at this point in time. It's just basically data mining people.
Yep.
And that's absolutely horrid.
Dude, I use a VPN for my fucking TV. Like, my TV doesn't connect right to the router because I don't trust them. They don't need to know it's me from my house watching this show or whatever. Like, it ain't like I'm watching anything illegal, but it's still, I don't need that. It's not something that I want to participate in. So I want to opt out.
Oh yeah, and the sad thing is that most people just don't care, you know, and that's not something that you should just not care about. Your privacy is extremely important, you know.
Well, they don't understand how it's being used against them. You know, they think they have to be a criminal, right, for it to be used against you. But that's not the case. You know, they use it against you to manipulate you into thinking that you want something, the things that you buy. You ever feel like, you know, you go to a store, you buy something, you're happy for 5 seconds, you get home and you're kind of already over it and you never touched it again? That was you being manipulated by, you know, really good data mining algorithms that use AI to write an article or an advert that speaks to you directly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, I was watching a video earlier of like children's toys and how they, you know, they were, you know, in the early 90s to late 90s were being used to manipulate children. Like, you know, Lego had McDonald's playset. So you'd have these kids like fantasizing being like, you know, a burger flipper at McDonald's while playing with their Legos. So they grow up and want to work at McDonald's. Like, I'm like, wow, like these companies really did try their best. And you can see how it worked.
Oh yeah, it's definitely successful, and that's the sad thing.
So how do we utilize blockchain, cryptocurrency, this open ledger, decentralization, all of this, you know, that we have at our disposal to obfuscate what the mainstream is trying to do by, you're right, big data, by basically turning us into sheeple, you know, and herding us in towards, you know, their markets?
Well, for first things first, financial privacy is one of the best ways to really go about it, because if you can't extract customer data, there's nothing you can really do.
Facts.
You should try to add, you know, shove ads up the pipe of the purchaser, you know, and that's where Piratechain comes in, because there's no data on the Explorer to where you can pinpoint anything. There's no rich list because you can't see any balances, you can't see amounts transacted, you can't see which wallets transacted, nothing.
That's interesting. Is now privacy can become too private, and I think people have had so it becomes a point of a trust, right, with when there's so much privacy. How do I know how many coins are actually in circulation if I can't go to the wallets and check the block explorer to see wallets have X amount of coin and this is how many coins are in existence and circulation, supply issuance, things to that effect could be obfuscated by privacy. So now Piratechain or Monero or whatever privacy coin could just say, we have X amount of coins in circulation. It's a rare asset. And it's like, well, how do we know? Or there's X amount and we don't know the true supplier issuance because it's so private. It becomes part of a trust.
Well, when the block is mined, whether it be by a solar miner or a pool, like the actual pool itself, that block reward goes into a transparent address, right? So you can actually see all the block rewards coming in.
Okay.
However, once it gets distributed from, say, you know, the pool itself to the actual miners, that's when it goes into Z addresses or private addresses.
Okay.
So you can see the incoming from the block reward, but after that you can't see transactions between people or anything.
Right. So if that weren't transparent, then that would kind of lead, you know, to what I was saying, the too much privacy. Yeah. And so now if that was private, that wouldn't you agree that would be too much privacy then for a blockchain?
Yeah, if there was no way to really see the block rewards coming into anywhere, then yeah, I could see where you're coming from.
So that's what I mean. Like, I put on my tinfoil hat. I'm like, well, privacy is great, but too much of it can actually lead to from a trustlessness to a trusted system. And you may not be trusting a person. You could be trusting software or trusting code, but you have now put trust into it instead of, being able to validate.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I had this conversation with people that use cash a lot, and they think cash is private, and they go to dispensaries and stuff. I'm like, well, they ask for your driver's license at the door, and you go in and spend cash. It's not that private. They ask you for your name at the register, and they put your name on the receipt, and then you spend cash. I'm thinking that we could see similar issues occur with cryptocurrencies, where it's not a private transaction because there's KYC done at the register, or they're only accepting whitelisted address transactions, right? So from like custodial services or KYC addresses, if you go to a store, like I want to buy a Lambo, they're going to ask you for your driver's license, your information, and put that name on the deed or the title to the car when you purchase it. So it wasn't an anonymous transaction just because you use crypto or cash. They put your name on it. And I'm thinking that this could be done with addresses. Even if Piratechain is private, you could have the issue of whitelisting, right? Now, this address is mine because I said this address is mine to a third party that says, here's the KYC, here's the address, there it goes, it's linked. And now my employer, he can pay me to my Piratechain blockchain wallet address, because I have it KYC'd. It's like a bank account. He's allowed to pay me to that address because it is whitelisted. Now I go to a dispensary, I go buy cannabis, and because it's a whitelisted address, my name is tied to that transaction, which means now there's more potential customer data mining because it's on an open ledger, it's on a blockchain. I think that we're probably going towards the same problems we have today, but with better technology tomorrow. We're not getting rid of the problems because of regulations and lobbying and the way that all this technology will be implemented with those borders to keep it very similar to the systems we have in place today.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. And at the same time, you're saying about whitelisting addresses, but who's to stop you from sending whatever your employer sent you to another address?
Well, but then it's still they can still use Chainalysis to track that, right? So
no, how do they know where it went?
There's no receiving address for the transactions.
No, if you were to say send an address to your send Piratechain to yourself, right?
From a whitelisted address to another address that's not known.
Sure, yeah. So if you were to send Piratechain from a known address to another address you have that nobody knows, they don't know where it went other than you, because you can open your wallet, you can see where you sent it and how much you sent to your other address, but nobody else can see that.
So so it's not on any block explorer that you can see the transactional. Interesting.
Yeah, the only people that can see the transaction is the sender and receiver, and that's it.
So what about the enforcement though on the merchant side, right? So they can't really enforce us individuals. They can't really regulate you and me. I mean, they could try, but it's not as enforceable as it is at a corporate level. So say you go to buy that Lamborghini with your Pirate coin, and you try to use that secondary address that's not whitelisted. When you send the coin to their address, probably going to be using some form of escrow smart contract, blah, 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 to make sure you got the car and everything's verified. But then before that happens, maybe their receiving address says, hey, this address that you're sending from isn't KYC'd. It's an unknown address. We're not allowed to accept these coins, and it refunds. Like that's the issues I'm thinking we're going to have is when you go to a merchant and you use like a stolen credit card, you swipe it, nothing happens. You know what I mean? Or when you swipe a credit card over a certain amount of purchase, you have to show your ID. And I think this could happen with crypto currencies as well. When we go to purchase something at the store, they're going to say right at checkout, oh, I'm sorry, we can't accept these funds. They're being refunded right away. Do you have a wallet that has been, verified?
Yeah, but I don't see that. I don't really see that particularly happening, just for the fact that you can make so many different addresses that, there's really no point, because one person could have 30,000 addresses if they wanted to.
But the point is, you would have to pick the one out of those 30,000 that have a KYC approval for a whitelisted address to do a business at my business with that. So if you want to spend your crypto here, you have to use that one address that you have certified or on the books. Otherwise, we can't accept that crypto here. And I think that is the conversations we'll be having soon, because like we walk into businesses that are cash only, like we still have those conversations that are very similar.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a possibility, but I don't really see that happening, at least for the near like 50 years or so, because the government's slow at everything anyways.
That
So,
is true. Luckily, the government is way slower than the technology. We've been able to innovate beyond regulations capabilities year
mhm.
after year. And
Oh yeah.
I think, Lightning really was like one of those protocols that were like one more fuck you to, big banks. And Mimblewimble is another one. And I'm really excited to see what like the tech can do to regulation as far as like what can be enforced and what can't, because we've seen it happen with like alcohol, cannabis, and other prohibitions. And I've said this on the show before, we're in the era of Bitcoin prohibition, and we're going to see what moonshining Bitcoin can really do to regulators, and if they can actually enforce anything that they can write down and dot their i's and cross their t's to. Can that be enforced, or is it just words on paper? And that's what kind of happened with alcohol prohibition, cannabis prohibition. It's all just become a fairy tale on paper. It meant
Yeah.
nothing to reality because the individuals outweighed the regulators, and I think that's what we're going to see happen, especially with merchants. Like merchant adoption isn't to be tech savvy and cool. It isn't to stack sats. It's because they
Yeah.
have an actual problem with the remittance systems that exist today, and this is one of the best options they have outside of cash. They say, oh, Visa, American Express takes what 5% of transactions. They put a ATM in the corner and make money off you getting cash out to come back to the register. The same incentive for them to accept crypto. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a stop going poor scheme.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I have a slightly different take on that, especially when it came to alcohol and weed being legal for a period of weed still kind of illegal, but um, it's the fact that the government is starting to realize how much money they can make off of the sales of those products. And once they can figure out a way to monetize, using Bitcoin, that's when you'll see a lot of heads change in the government and be like, "Oh yeah, we're for this now." So, I mean, there's there's going to be a point in time where yeah, it's going to be more accepted, but I think the big turn is when they figure out how to monetize it.
Well, I think the only way that they can monetize it is if they start to participate. If we see the Federal Reserve go from printing fiat to mining crypto, if we see the IRS go from taxing to nodes, things to this effect, where they actually could participate in the ecosystem and then earn from its adoption. I think that's what I think they're waiting for. Not so much the ETFs, not so much, whatever for financial investment, but I think it's more so how does the banking, how does the Federal Reserve, how does the IRS all fall into this economy moving forward? And they
Yeah.
haven't gotten their ducks in order yet. We're still in a
Oh no,
developer
not at all.
drought. So like, what they have like one developer at the IRS or something for blockchain, and like five for the Federal Reserve. Like there's it's still a drought for the innovators, the developers, and the government legs that need them to evolve the on ramps for them. And if imagine that the Federal Reserve does start to mine crypto and the IRS starts to earn their taxes from transaction fees. It seems just like, when Satoshi Nakamoto was creating this blockchain protocol for Bitcoin, he was thinking of all of these institutions and giving them a place if they decided that that's what they wanted to do and contribute. Like there is room for them here. There is a job for them if they choose to do it.
That's a good
Otherwise,
point.
other people will.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
dude, imagine all these banks. Like I mentioned earlier, Litecoin owning a part of a bank. A lot of these banks have money, and what do you need to move money on the Lightning channel is more money to facilitate the transaction. So if
Yeah.
you see Poloniex and Binance using Lightning networks, they're probably going to be using bank Lightning channels that can facilitate millions of dollars worth of these assets on Lightning and not
Yeah.
have to worry about the channel freezing or closing or whatever. And that's where I think the banks really are missing the ball. They don't see the potential revenue in doing this, but I think
Mhm.
soon it will appeal to them. And once, like you said, once they start to do this, that's when we're going to start to see the mass adoption. But it's until the governments are really established in the industry.
Well, for me, it's more along the lines of you'll see a mass adoption once you can go. to a grocery store and just use crypto and just buy your daily essentials with as that. So, and then even with paying rent, if you need to pay rent, or mortgage companies could start accepting crypto at some point. So if you can go about your daily life and just survive using whatever coin is going to be king at one point, or if there's multiple coins, you know, that's when mass adoption is happening.
Yep, I think way a lot of these, like you mentioned, like your mortgage and utilities and things like that, will accept crypto. It probably won't be to hold it. They're probably going to be third-party exchanges.
Yeah,
You go to your utility bill to pay your electric in Bitcoin or Piratechain or whatever. They're not going to hodl it. They're actually going to open up their own exchange and they're going to sell it. And they're actually going to make money on the money that you gave them to pay your utilities or your mortgage or whatever.
yeah, yeah. Transaction fees on exchanges. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, look at these dexes coming out with these APIs. So basically, you could go to like Comcast.com and they could have an exchange in the top right corner of their website. Like anybody could plug in an exchange API to their website. Like you can do it, I can do it. What's stopping these companies from doing it? And the only thing is, they don't have any. So when they start accepting it for their services, they'll have it for basically free, and they'll be getting money for having this money and selling it for money. Like it makes complete sense for that to actually start to happen.
It does, but until you think of the fact that they'll become custodial exchanges and then they could easily get hacked or just taken down, things like that. And, if crypto's stolen from them and then they lose, millions upon millions of dollars, like you've seen some of the exchanges have. But the real exchanges that will be king eventually are the decentralized exchanges. For example, the real decentralized, like the atomic DEX that Komodo is building, where
Yep.
it's just a quick swap and then you're done. There's no wallet holding, nothing. You have your own wallet, nobody else touches it except for you.
Yeah, I actually got to interview Komodo at World CryptoCon, and bro, they're like underdogs. People are sleeping on Komodo.
Oh, I
But
know.
but that's because a lot of the projects that actually peddle and do good don't shill. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you don't see Komodo out there paying influencers or putting on these like pump and dump tweets or posts or anything from any of their social media outlets.
yeah.
They're kind of to be fair, and I mean no disrespect to Komodo, y'all boring. Like y'all boring, bro. You're doing so much stuff, but and this comes to marketing. Like you could have some of the best shit going on under the hood, but if you don't get the word out there, people don't know and they can't appreciate it. And I think that's what happens in this space is vaporware gets more attention than true software because of that the marketing, the hype
Oh, yeah.
to it. And a lot of the stuff like what Komodo's doing with their decks gets put on the back burner of content creators and influence conversation because it's not catchy. It doesn't get the clicks, so people don't make content about what Komodo's doing. They'd rather talk about whatever shitcoin's coming out because people are talking shit on it. It's getting clicks, and that's the incentive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same problem that we had at Piratechain because we have no budget, we have no ICO, no dev fee, nothing. So, and it was a fair launch too. So there's no advantage for us at the very beginning.
Let's talk
But
about that fair launch because a lot of people don't understand what that means, and I think we could compare it to like Dash or
yeah.
other launches. But like, what's the difference between like a fair launch and how other currencies have launched and what Piratechain did differently?
Well, a fair launch would mean that there's no pre-mine, there's no pre-sale of coins, nothing of that sort. So as soon as the Genesis block hits, people can just start mining it, and then literally there's no like insane block reward for that first block. You know what I mean? For the devs to get. So it's all equal playing field for everybody.
Right
So
on, man. And that's how it should be, honestly.
yeah,
And
100%.
it is and isn't at a fair level because obviously those that are early to be interested are early to mine it and get those rewards, but it's not any more so than if you were to come in a little bit later. So like,
Yeah.
it is and isn't game theory at the same time, and I think that that's an interesting way to like kind of go about like I was saying like an ethical launch.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got you.
But I mean, again, now you don't have money for funding and marketing and promoting, and I think that's what the pre mines and all these like unfair launches are really for, is so that the foundation has funds that they could liquidate to keep the project moving forward. And
True.
we've seen what happens when currencies don't do things like that and actually, hodl their own coins instead of cashing out, and then the market crashes and they don't have money to pay their developers or their servers.
True, but at the same time, if you say, well, we're going to use this for development fees and blah blah blah, you could easily just exit scam people and people would get pissed off. So there's
Facts.
there's still a negative connotation when it comes to dev fees or pre-mine and anything like that.
Is there like
But
a decentralized pirate chain, like uh, treasury?
well, we run on donations, and
Okay, that's what I
the
was
thing
getting at. Yeah.
the thing about our project is that it's completely decentralized to the point where if you had some dev skills or marketing skills or anything, you could just come in, do work. You know, all of everyone that pitches in with the understanding that they're helping a privacy coin, one of the best, if not the best out there, and then they want to be a part of that. So, for example, with me, I didn't expect to be, paid at all because, I understand that it's a decentralized project that has no funds. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I don't get rewarded for work that I do. Because, for example, with me, you know, I'm sitting on Piratechain coins, and I'm also have some Komodo on hand that I'll tip people every so often that do good work. So people are generous, especially with the higher ups. Like if they see you doing a lot of work, they'll promote you or they'll send you some funds for helping out, things like that. And we also have a couple notary nodes that are attached to Pirate as well from Komodo, so that some of the funding that comes in from the notary nodes gets redirected to Pirate Chain. So
Is
we can
there any
still,
active bounties right now so people can like start to participate? Is there anything actively going on?
yeah. Well, if you were to go follow Pirate Chain, and have a legit Twitter account, you can actually tweet about Pirate Chain, and every day you tweet about Pirate Chain, you get 5R.
Oh,
So that's
cool.
one free way to do it. We also have a bounty for getting shops or streamers to adopt Pirate Chain as a payment because we're on several different payment gateways at this point. We're still working on getting integrated with coin payments, which they want to list us, but they're technically limited on their end.
Mm.
So next year, hopefully, when the beginning of next year, they said they'll be upgrading their system, and then they'll try to integrate us into that.
Shout out to
But
Coin Payments, my
yeah,
Canadian bros. And I see Amina in the chat, my Canadian bro. How goes it, Amina? Coin Payments is actually a really cool company. I got to hang
oh
out
yeah,
with their team a few times at different events in Canada. And what they're doing for mass adoption is awesome. It's just huge, dude. And, they're doing it in such a way it seems almost like a legacy, like Visa or American Express type of marketing. And they're getting into these merchants to accept crypto, like, really
oh yeah.
well.
And I got a funny story about them too. So I was in the Cayman Islands with several people from the project, like Lutz, Wolf, House, and Z-Mark. Shout out to them because they're badasses when it comes to talking to people. And so we're marketing ourselves to the island, things like that, trying to see because I mean the Caymans are known for the privacy, so we're a privacy coin. And it was during the Pirates Week festival, so put two and two together. We're like, we have to go to this. So we talked to government officials. We talked to quite a few VIPs down there. And then one day we were eating breakfast, and then Lutz and Wolf get up and they're like, "Oh, let's go start talking to people outside." So they walk outside, and who do they run into? Alex from Coin Payments.
That's awesome.
So they start talking, and then and Alex is like, "Do you know who I am?" They're like, "No." He's like, "Dude, I'm Alex from Coin Payments." So then we ended up hanging with him, and then I had a meeting with him for a while. So that's how the whole ball started rolling with the whole, Pirate Chain possibly getting listed on Coin Payments.
See, and I
So,
stand by my comment of Payments being cool as shit and their team being cool
oh
because,
yeah,
like, that's how it was for me. I was just walking around and I ended up talking to some people like, oh, we're Coin. I'm like, yo, you guys are huge. You're awesome. Like, thank you for doing you. Like, I appreciate Coin Payments. So, yo, it would be awesome to see you listed on there. And, like, so if that were a potential, what would that mean for Pirate Coin and Pirate.Black, like, Pirate Chain? Like, what would that mean? Like, what's that mean for the team and the community when Coin Payments does integrate?
well, what that means for us is that we can actually spend Pirate Chain in more places, and that's the end goal for a lot of crypto is, to be able to use the currency that you're mining, right? So our end goal is not only for that, but our bigger goal than coin payments is creating our point of sale system. So we're going to be in the works of developing our own point of sale system. So brick and mortar shops can just download the app. A person that has Piratechain can go there, scan their app so that processes the transaction, and then it instantly gets converted to their native fiat and deposited in their bank.
Now, could this be burning a candle at both ends for fruitless bounties? I mean, like if you're working on a POS system for merchants and there's a regulation implemented for privacy coins to whatever not be allowed, because we've seen this happen with like operating systems like we mentioned earlier with like Apple and Google. They wouldn't let Dash or other private like Monero have a wallet on their app store because they didn't want to deal with privacy. They don't enjoy it, they don't like it, and they don't want to support it. And I think that we could see this happen to merchants, right? Like where they're not going to be able to use privacy coins because regulators have told them they're not allowed to. So is there a potential that y'all could be building this and nobody would legally be allowed to adopt it?
Well, think of it this way, right? What is the merchant accepting? Fiat, right? They're not accepting, a privacy coin or a Piratechain, nothing. They're accepting their native fiat. So it's not on them to actually hold a wallet or do anything of that sort. It's just they know that as soon as I scan, they're going to be paid in their native fiat, whatever bank that rolls with us in doing this will be the one that's handling all that stuff, and possibly in the Caymans. So
I feel like this, and I don't want to deter you guys from doing it. I just feel like this is almost pointless. It's almost like Netflix today preparing for a Blu-ray launch. It doesn't make sense. I think that I say this because I think more along the lines of stable coins rather than fiat, less banking off and on ramps. Like maybe the business that accepts Pirate Coin will just rather have a stable coin rather than cashing out, because cash is a burden. It's a burden to businesses to have cash. They have to do something with it. They have to get rid of it. They have to buy goods, supplies. They have to do things. And I think like seeing the incentive behind accepting the crypto and keeping it as crypto to use it, even in the form of a stable coin, is more of an incentive than actually having cash in a bank. So
that's a good point.
Wouldn't it be worth more while than to say forget the off and on ramps, forget the bank deals, forget that altogether, build a point of sale system that can convert whatever to a stable coin?
Yeah, but what about brick and mortar shops that don't want to deal with crypto in general, right? So then you're left with, well, you're basically limiting your scope at that point. Because yes, we could still do that. I mean, that's no issue, because we can. I'm thinking of a couple ways we can set that up so that instead of them accepting their native fiat, they can accept a stable coin or Piratechain if their country allows that, right?
Wouldn't that be like how Apple got rid of the headphone jack and basically forced the world to evolve with technology? That's very similar to saying, look, we're not dealing with cash. It's like a VHS. We're going to be dealing with MP3s now. Like, this is crypto. So I feel like once they start to, like, businesses start to accept and see the ease of use of a cryptocurrency, they're going to see the I would say the uselessness of fiat associated to it. Like a stable coin, you still get to be your own bank, but with fiat, you still need a bank.
Yeah, but at the same time, who do you trust everyone to be their own bank, to take care of their wallets, to make sure they have their private keys written down and everything like that? I mean,
as a business, I would. You would have multi-sigs. You would have levels to it. The same. I mean, like if you're a manager of a business, you're in charge of finance. You could accidentally give somebody a $50,000 paycheck. It's not unheard of to have people see the decimal place in the wrong spot on their paychecks. So the same thing could happen. Businesses at levels have responsibilities with their funds. It's no different than not. So I mean, like, you have this scapegoat of saying, hey, the manager sent this, call the bank and say the manager sent too much money. Can you do a chargeback? And the bank can charge back. But you see that as a positive, and I'm sure more merchants see that as a negative because chargebacks are done to them more than they have to do it for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said before, it's not. I don't completely trust everyone with holding any sort of crypto. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I
there's
think that
custodials. So, like, if a business did accept their stablecoin, they could have Celsius Network be their bank, and they could earn 8% annually on their holdings, which is a lot more of an incentive than any bank offers, and it's
true,
insured by BitGo.
true, but at the same time, how do they pay their employees at that point? You know?
Stablecoins. I'm sure employees would prefer stablecoins rather than fiat. I mean, I've been there before where I had to get a bank account just so I could get paid, and it was like a nightmare. And it
Oh,
was,
I bet, yeah.
like your employer gives you a check and you can't cash it anywhere without paying a $15 fee. Even if the bank's written on the check and you walk into the bank, if you don't have a bank account, it's going to cost you money to get your money off that check. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a scam. So I have to get a bank account, get my my check direct deposit, wait 3 days for the money to clear, spend money, and then realize it took 3 days for it to get out of my account. So now I'm overdrafting. I think that having stable coins and having more responsibility isn't a bad thing. I think that society's ready for that level of responsibility, and I think that we're woke to the ideology of having a bank as a scapegoat for when shit goes wrong isn't really a solution. You know,
No, I agree with that
if the
point.
bank gets robbed or does something wrong and loses money, they don't just have insurance that makes it come back magically.
Okay.
You are the insurance. It's your money that puts the money back where the money used to be.
Exactly, yeah.
So you fucking solve all the problems the banks make for themselves. Why don't you solve the problems that you make for yourself? Why pay a bank to lose your money and then pay them to put it back? When, if anything, like, having a scapegoat isn't worthwhile in this digital era.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you just said. But it's just, to me, I think there's quite a few people out there that are just too lazy or just don't want to even think about things like that. So it's just adding that one extra layer of something to do is just, it's not something that they want to do, because we live in a time of convenience at this point, you know?
Mm.
You want everything instantly. You want everything as is, as you want it right now. So if there's one extra step that you need to take, it puts off quite a few people, unfortunately, and that's actually sad.
You're
You know?
right. No, you're right, and it is a deterrent because of the discomfort. You know, like
Mhm.
financially, people are always on pins and needles when they're even talking about money, let alone moving it and using it. If
Yeah.
there's like this weird emotional, physical attachment to like currency that we have, and it's a tribalism thing too. You know,
Yeah.
trying to convert people from fiat to a cryptocurrency is like trying to get a fucking Christian to become Mormon. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. People have these ideologies ingrained into their genetics, and it defines who they are. You know, it
Mhm.
may just be a currency, it may just be monetary, but it is, without a doubt, a physical part of them externally. Like, you know, so people have that. I think that is moving. We've seen that happen with media. People that
Mhm.
collected VHSs and DVDs, it's no longer really a thing. People just have terabytes with these, files on it, and
Yeah.
it became less of a physical hoarding and more of a digital hoarding.
Yeah. And that's where I say, have the option for them to either, accept their native fiat, have a stable coin, or just Piratechain as, Piratechain, but actually have it ramp up, you know? So over time, they'll be so accustomed to using that app and saying, okay, well, it might be easier if I were to say, accept the stable coin, you know, and just kind of ease people into it rather than just, like ripping off a band-aid. Like, all right, there you go. Because I mean, even today, like with the example that you used with Apple removing the headphone jack, that pissed me off. That still pisses me off.
It pissed me off too,
Yeah,
bro. I
dude.
can't even lie.
No,
These are
dude,
Bluetooth wireless headphones, and I'm using a wire.
same here. Dude, and that's why I have a Samsung Galaxy S9, or S9 Plus, because it has a headphone jack. Plus, I have a thing for.
Same exact phone.
Yes. Hell
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah, you're right. There's always there's always going to be those people like us that want the damn headphone jack or want
Yeah.
their fiat and bank accounts for sure.
Yeah.
Big data guy, Ron, he said it's not hard to train customers, and I mentioned in the chat Diner Club, they did it. And when Diner Club card first came out, the same conversations we're kind of having, people were having. No one's going to do that. Everybody wants cash, this, that, and the other. But it wasn't hard for merchants to train customers in how to do commerce. And I think that's what's going to happen moving forward with cryptocurrencies. I don't think it's going to be, us walking into merchants saying, "Will you accept my coins?" It will be more merchants saying, "Hey, we accept coins. We'll give you a discount." So that will be the bottom up. It won't be the customers. It will be the merchants that actually start this massive adoption wave.
Yeah, and that's why we're pushing that way too with merchants. And obviously we're starting out with e-commerce and things like that. So that current bounty, going back to the bounties, our current bounty is getting them to accept Piratechain as is, and then going from there, and then you get paid for it.
Yo, guys, get out there and get these merchants to accept some crypto. Man. You can actually earn crypto for getting merchants to accept crypto, which basically means you're getting paid for mass adoption.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about that a little bit in mass adoption, like what your thoughts are on what's holding it back and what the space needs to look like to see mass adoption.
The way I explain it is, it needs to be able to be used like a credit card, right? Or a debit card, however you want to look at it. In the sense of, you ask somebody, "Can you use a credit card?" Everyone's like, "Yeah, of course. Just swipe it or insert the chip. You're done." But then ask them, "How does it work?" They have no earthly idea, And that's kind of where crypto is at right now, is that a lot of people, or most people, have no earthly idea how it works. So they're kind of timid about using it. But the moment that we can make it so that they can just swipe it like a credit card, or just use it without even knowing or having to learn how it works, that's when you'll see adoption just start skyrocketing.
Now, aren't we dumbing down the technology to cater to the people at the other end, the lower spectrum of Darwinism? Like, I feel like this is a disservice to the tech to say that we need to dumb it down and make it easier for the dummies to use, rather than, I guess, educate the dummies to where what you need to do, backing up your keys and all this other stuff, is common knowledge. It's very ingrained knowledge. If you do this to a dog, genetically ingrained into their blood, bro, they know that that's bad. They go nuts. Like, you can't point even a toy gun at a dog that never even seen a real gun, because in their genetics they know that that's bad. And we know that, looking at physical money, if you get handed a fake 20, you know immediately that that's fake. Something about it's wrong. Even just touching it, looking at it. And it's just become ingrained in our DNA how we do commerce. And I think that that's what's going to happen with this technology, is backing up your private keys, having, whatever, that seems like it might be too much today, actually will become very common knowledge. Like credit cards. People tug on the things before they put their cards into the ATMs or the gas stations now, because people are putting fake ones over top of it to steal your credit.
Same thing. Yeah.
But see, that wasn't always there though. Now it's ingrained in human fucking nature when it comes to commerce. To pull on it, to check before you put your card in there. And it wasn't always there. And I think that as we keep moving forward, the way we learn as a society with mass consciousness, with group consciousness, it becomes part of just ingrained in our lives and the way we do commerce. And I think that we don't have to dumb this down any more than it already is. I like what Unstoppable Domains is doing with like domain names for receiving addresses and stuff like that. I like what a lot of these projects are doing to try and, I guess, dumb down and make it easier. But it's really a disservice to the tech. Like,
I completely agree. But at the same time, you can only move as fast as your slowest member, So you have to make it so that the people who, and I hate to say this, aren't up to speed with, I'm trying to put this as nicely as possible, aren't up to speed with technology in general. And just, things in general like that, to really understand it like we would understand it.
But by the time it does meet mass adoption, the millennials will be the boomers, right? Like, the people that grew up with technology will be the older generation. People that have, always had a digital currency in their lives, whether it be centralized or not, will be the oldest generation. We're catering to a generation that's going to die before the tech is implemented, is what I'm getting at. Dumbing down the tech today to prepare for tomorrow, when the people of tomorrow will be in the graves and the people of today will be older to adopt. It's just, I feel like we're preparing for something that won't exist.
Yeah, but if you look throughout history, right, there's always that scale. There's always that scale where, you have to understand it to use it, and then it gets to a point where you don't have to understand it to be able to use it, right? Look at cars, for example, right? People didn't have to understand now, how cars work. And I used to be a mechanic and own my own shop. And there's so many people that just don't understand how it works, but they just use it, right? And if you look back in the day, you had to know kind of how a car worked to be able to use it. You had to crank it manually or
Yeah.
and other stuff. And then you had those other people who just didn't use it because they didn't know how to use it, right? So there's always that curve, and it seems like it's always the same. There's always going to be a period in time where there's new technology that people don't understand how to use, so they don't use it. And then it gets easier to the point where they can use it without having to learn how to use it.
Yeah,
So
but
there's
doesn't this a
always
lot of this involve custodial services is my issue, right? Like a lot of this is gonna like you were trying to relate it to the ease of use of credit cards, and I know Crypto.com and BitPay and all these cards that are out there, they're all third party custodial services, and I like in order for us to get there, basically we're just gonna have to have banking 2.0, you know?
yeah. I mean, realistically, I think that's where banks will eventually head. Banks aren't going to just disappear. They're mainly going to be used for custodial services in the distant future, I think. So,
Unfortunately, you're right. I think you're 100% right. And what scares me about all this is that banks are going to be using this to screw us over yet again. Doing what they did, just better with better tech. If I deposit 50 grand into a bank and you ask the bank for a $50,000 loan, the bank's going to charge you interest on that loan and give me nothing. I get nothing off the money they're charging you to get, and it's my money they're giving you. They're going to
true.
do the same thing with crypto, except
But
I'm worried about. Hear me out real fast. I'm worried
sure.
about fake Bitcoin or paper Bitcoin, or where you think you own a Bitcoin and we end up owning the same Bitcoin because the bank tried to fucking fractional reserve Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. However, I think that you have the option to be your own bank with cryptocurrency, right? So the custodial services will be there for people who just don't understand it and don't want to learn it. However, that leaves an incentive for them to learn it, right?
Good point.
Because this way they won't get screwed over by those custodial services. So that for a lot of people who are kind of like in the middle or toward the other end a little bit, they'll be the ones that say, okay, I'm done being screwed over by banks, and they're going to try and screw me over again with this. Let me actually learn this so that I can be my own bank and then do this safely.
So,
So,
so you're talking about a Trojan horse.
yeah, sure.
No, that's you're right. That's kind of
Yeah,
what it would be like, right? We'd have that crypto for dummies on ramp, and people will realize that these custodial solutions are still taking advantage of them and giving them issues, and the incentive to learn and do what that custodian's doing for them is higher than ever.
yeah,
You cannot perform the actions of what a bank does for you in the background as a business,
yeah,
but now with cryptocurrencies, you can. You can
yeah,
completely middleman out what's happening and do it yourself if it is worthwhile and if you do understand it. Because there's
exactly.
tons of businesses that subsidize their financial responsibilities out because they can't do it or they don't want to, or for some reason, I guess for biasness, right? A lot of people don't want to have bias to their funds, so they have a bank so things can't go wrong. They can't exit scam.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think one other thing that'll get some people in the middle as well is to have just basically have it widely available to where it's training them on how to use it, how to store it, everything. And it's just something they can listen to in the free time and just learn. Because I've talked to so many people that want to learn cryptocurrency, but it's daunting at first. And plus, if you go on YouTube or whatever, there's tons of videos that are out there. Some of them are good, some of them are just trash, and then some of them are just kind of confusing. And trying to land on that right one is sometimes hard as well. So if we can have some sort of source of information to where it's dumbed down to the point where people can just look at it, understand it, and then just build up from there, I think that'll get quite a few people that are stuck in the middle.
I will start by saying fuck Coinbase, but have you checked out Coinbase Earn and what they're doing with like giving away? I think it's like $350 worth of random coins to people that go through like educational tutorials.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's really interesting. I thought that was a like one thing. I was like, all right, cool, good on you, Coinbase. But also, like, I see what you're doing. Like, we all know what you're really doing at the end of the day. But I think that that's a really amazing educational tool and incentive for people. That, you know, are kind of on the fence. I don't want to buy any crypto, but if I make a Coinbase account and I go through all these shitty tutorials, I can actually earn a couple $100 worth of crypto.
Yeah,
That's
and then that counts as income.
mm-hmm.
And then that gets reported on your taxes, or you have to report that. And then you have to check the box that says, yes, you own cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and then Coinbase waits for the day that it goes up and you end up converting it, trading it, or selling it, and then they snitch on you. And I'm not a big fan of taxation. Even my president hasn't paid income tax. I don't feel like I should if my president doesn't. um, and yeah, so I guess we can kind of wrap things up. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or touch on or ask me or get in the air?
Oh, man. Well, first things first, when can we do this again? This is an awesome ass interview. I'll tell you
Thanks,
that.
man. Literally, my
fun.
podcast is open source. I know that one of the guys on the team, I think, scheduled this for us, but
Yeah.
my podcast is open source. Anybody that feels like coming on can schedule a day. If you go to my Twitter, it's the pinned tweet, and there's a link to my Calendarly. Calendarly. There's no ER. It's Calendly. And anybody. So, dude, anytime you want, honestly, like, I ask my guests if they come on once a month because it's, like, such a great conversation. So if you wanted to book one for next month or February or whatever, dude, the link is right there on Twitter.
Yeah, 100%. I'll definitely be doing that again, man. As far as Piratechain related, yeah, go check us out. Pirate.Black. Join our Discord. We're super friendly. Any questions you ask, you know, even if it's like, oh, well, what about comparing you to say Monero or whatever, you know, we'll give you our honest opinions. We're not mean. We won't boot you out. Nothing. So, on top of that, we're developing a mobile light wallet soon. So that should be coming out the next month or two. We have a Pirate operating system now that runs over Tor, has VPN connections. It runs a light wallet from us, and then it's basically completely closed and runs off of OpenSUSE. That's modified to basically make it more secure.
Wow.
More like Tails.
So it would look sort of like how Chrome looks, right? Like as a browser goes for like the internet. This is sort of like what Pirate OS would look like on Tor, like as like a browser.
No, think of it like this, right? So you say you have a USB stick, right? And you burn Pirate OS onto that USB stick, right? You plug it into your computer, boot up your computer from the stick drive, and then it boots into our operating system.
Oh, so it's a complete hardware OS, not just like, okay, because when you said on top of Tor for some reason, I was thinking it was like, you know, like a browser or something like that. But
No.
It's actually an operating system for your computer that you can run on.
Yep, exactly. And they can run your light wallet on it and then just do everything you need to do completely and honestly and securely. So it's not like Windows where there's malicious attackers trying to get you every time, or, you know, like corrupted software that could screw you over, anything. So, and the cool thing is that next month we'll be adding encryption to it so that say you carry it around with you and you lose it, you know, nobody can just open it up and take your wallet. They have to know your password and things like that. So it fully encrypts the data portion of that USB stick too. So
I'm a big fan of encrypting my keys, man. I feel like not a lot of people look into, like, I think it's BIP 138 for Bitcoin, but you could put a password on top of your private keys, guys. So if anybody saw your private keys or got a screenshot of it, or Google does some sort of, like, Google Photos sweep where they look for everyone's fucking screenshots that they took and store it on the cloud of their private keys, they're password blocked. So you won't lose your money. Because that I know when we see these scams and exits and exchanges and all this stuff, it's only a matter of time till the clouds start to get... I mean, we've seen what happened with the fappening when all the celebrities had their porn leaked. Wait for all these crypto celebrities to have their private keys leaked.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's why I don't
with screenshots.
I don't store any crypto information on my cloud at all. That's the worst thing, in my opinion, you can possibly do, aside from showing somebody your private key.
Yeah, man, for sure. And, like, you know, I remember God damn, this is hilarious. You remember the guy, this was like late 90s, early 2000s, had his social security number put on billboards because he thought he was so secure that he ended up losing his identity to it.
And it wasn't once. I thought he lost it at least 2-3 times.
Yes,
like
yes, dude. Yo, it's so great. It's so funny. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, seriously, just type in social security number, guy can't be hacked or something. And this dude was on TV, billboards, everywhere, just wearing a shirt with his social security number on it, thinking that he was secure.
Didn't he? Wasn't he the CEO of some like tax company or some protection
Yeah,
agency?
that was
Oh,
it. Yeah, he was the
yeah, yeah,
CEO
yeah, yeah.
and he basically was using his services as an example, saying
Yeah.
like, I use my company and here's my social security number. I bet you can't use it without me knowing, and everybody got credit cards in that dude's name. And that's what I feel like people have that same security and ease of mind when they screenshot their private keys and put it on the cloud in a folder that is titled dick pics or something. They think they're being clever. Sorry, buddy, but there's an AI that has been specifically taught to look for very specific phrases and QR codes that contain specific data. So when those clouds are fucking exploited, your information will be swept quicker than the nudes of the fappening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was LifeLock. Thank you, big data
Yes,
guy.
that was it. Yes.
Yes, it was LifeLock, dude. That was the funniest project company ever, ever. Oh God, I miss those commercials. We need a crypto LifeLock. Dude, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much, bro. And just let everybody know at the pirate community that I appreciate them putting this interview or this fireside chat together, because this was hella fun. And again, I apologize for yesterday. We were supposed to go live yesterday, if you guys didn't know, but we're here now.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
All right, man. Let's see who's in the chat. Big Data Guy, Amina, much appreciate you. Oh damn, Big Data, you talked a lot. Hey, Crypto Radio, how goes it, bro? Much appreciate you being in the chat. Bitcoin Jake's here. How goes it, Mac Guy? How goes that? Having a day, everybody. And Gandhi, I think is how you pronounce it. Gandhi.io. How goes it, bro? Thank you all for joining the live stream. I hope you enjoyed the chat. And as always, the conversation is now in your hands. So if you enjoyed the conversation, go ahead and drop some comments in the comment section below and open up the conversation. Let's see what you guys think of what we talked about. And I'll chime in on the comments as I can. Check out, what is it? It's at Piratecoin.
Pirate.Black for our website. And our Twitter is Piratechain, at Piratechain.
At Piratechain on Twitter. So go ahead and check that out, Pirate.Black on the interwebs. And yeah, Brian, hey, how goes it, bro? I see you in the chat. All right, I appreciate you all. We're out of here. As always, have a day.
Yep.
Shout out to the sponsors of the podcast, MonarchToken.io, the complete crypto solution. Monarch Wallet is now available for Android, iOS, and desktop devices today. Do you want to learn how to mine crypto? Well, all you have to do is visit cryptomining.tools for profitable crypto mining information today. The Divi Project, that is diviproject.org, your one-click solution for staking and masternodes. Earn cryptocurrency using social media platforms like Somee.social, SOMEE.social, New Era Social Media. Get paid to write reviews, like reviews, comment on reviews. Visit bravocoin.com and get paid to review. Available for Android and iOS devices. bravocoin.com. Shout I'm a shill, shill.